तुझे आगे अरदास हमारी, जियो पिंड सब तेरा, कहो नानक सब तेरी वडियाई, कोई नाम ना जाने मेरा। दसां पातशाहियां दी आत्मक जोत, कलयुग के बोहित, नाम के जहाज, हलत पलत की रक्षा करने वाले, धन 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 साहिब श्री गुरु ग्रंथ साहब जी महाराज। आप जी ने पार बख्शिश करके पातशाह ਆਪਣੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਸਾਈਬਰ ਸਪੇਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਉਪਰਾਲਾ ਕਰਵਾਇਆ ਹੈ। ਆਪ ਦਾ ਕੁਟਾਨ ਕੋਟ ਸ਼ੁਕਰ ਹੈ ਜੀ। ਸੰਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਰਸਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਬੈਠ ਕੇ ਗੁਰਮਤਿ ਅਨੁਸਾਰ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਦੀ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਆਗਿਆ ਬਖਸ਼ੋ ਤੇ ਆਪ ਸਹਾਈ ਹੋ ਜੀ। ਸਹੀ ਪਿਆਰੇ ਮੇਲੋ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਚਿਤ ਆਵੇ। ਨਾਨਕ ਨਾਮ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਤੇਰੇ
ਤੇਰੇ ਬਾਣੇ ਸਰਬੱਤ
ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
Hanji, Vaisakhi ji Khalsa, Vaisakhi Fateh ji, ji ayanu to Khoj Gurbani. This is Ravinder Singh connecting with you from Columbus, Ohio. I have a feeling I want to go to Toronto. Before we get started with this session, I just want to take care of some housekeeping items, which we do every time. Essentially, ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਜੋ ਮਨੋਰਥ ਹੈ, our goal, ਉਹਨੂੰ repeat ਕਰ ਲਈਏ, and I will read it out. And that is essentially to engage Sikhs globally to come together as a Sangat to discuss Gurbani as an integral part of our daily lives. It is also, as we do this dialogue, to create a crowdsourced commentary and translation expressed in contemporary idiom in English. So the emphasis will be on English. However, that does not mean that we cannot intersperse it with Punjabi here and there. That is fine. But just so that you're mindful of the fact that we want to indeed create some sort of a resource for Sikhs in the diaspora, especially, and the younger generation. Again, participants are also encouraged to provide their own analysis based on their personal life experience. You're not required to always provide evidence in Gurbani for your experience, but if asked, you should be able to at least substantiate with Gurbani. Again, we recognize that all participants are equal. However, some participants have more life experience. They also have greater acknowledged and recognized subject matter expertise. We all know who they are. We recognize that. This is a request for those who are now in the Sangat right now to be able to step up and fill in the gaps should there be a silence. So the request is for these individuals to be watchdogs and make sure that the conversation keeps flowing in the right direction. And lastly, just a couple of points on how the discussion should proceed. We are all enjoined to be frank and honest, but not disrespectful or antagonistic. We should be able to agree to disagree without being disagreeable. Our responses should be brief. We should try to keep them limited to no more than 2 minutes at a time. Share your perspective in small sound bites. In other words, stuff that will trigger or provoke interest or a logical query so that the dialogue or the discussion can grow and become larger, and the whole becoming larger than the sum of the parts. Lastly, stick to a simple, straightforward, everyday mode of conversation, keeping in mind, how does this fit into my daily life? That said, let's get started with the discussion. Our dialogue today, just to give those who are attending this for the first time, the dialogue today will center around the last 2 lines of the first Pauri of the Japji Sahib, and I read them. Kiv sachiara hoiye, kiv kuda tutte paal, hukam rijai chalana, Nanak likhya naal. Now, the discussion group in our previous session did actually consider some of this, but we all agreed that more thought needed to be put around this. So we did spend some time talking about Satyara. What does Satyara mean? And I'll play back to you what I heard from you so that we can move on. So put in English, Satyara was referred to variously as one who deals with such, or the truth, one who practices the truth, one who adorns the truth, such Datarani. So essentially this is, I'm culling what we heard. This obviously begs the question, what is the truth? Incidentally, that was the question that Pontius Pilate asked Jesus as well. And so, when we say what is the truth, it is obviously a subject that is very large and probably never ending. So we need to have some sort of a working agreement here as to what truth is for us. And I would recommend and suggest that we take it to mean Naam in the context of Gurbani. Naam meaning the one creative force or presence from which all else flows. That is my quick little definition, but I think you all get the drift. And then the second term that requires our attention today is Kib Kure Tutte Pal. Again, we touched briefly on Kur as well, but I think we can start there with Kur. And then the third term obviously is Hukum, which we need to address. I'm not sure that we'll have the time, but that's the direction in which we are going to go. I have the names of some of the individuals who are on. I will follow a round robin kind of format as I have been doing in the past. In other words, I will start at the top of the list of names that I have here, go down and then circle back with follow-up questions. So you will have a chance to ask follow-up questions. So if you have something that you want to really put out there very quickly, just hold your thought and I'll cycle back to you. And if I don't, of course, interrupt me and raise your point. I have on my list, Harvinder just confirmed for me, I have Sardar Ravel Singh Ji, I have Sardar Gurdeep Singh Ji from Amritsar, Sardar Gurdeep Singh Ji from Montreal, I have Sardar Charan Singh Ji from Toronto, and I do see Dr. IJ Singh all brightly lit up. I see that he's present as well. Am I missing anyone?
I think Dilpreet Singh Ji.
And Dilpreet Singh is also on board here. Okay, very good. Now, before we get started, does anyone have any question? Does anyone have any comment? Nope. Okay, very good. In that case, we are going to start with Kur and what that might mean in this context, try to understand what Kur is and how does it, again, as I've always said, matter to me in my daily life. I am going to start off by reaching out to Sardar Ravel Singh Ji. If you could introduce the subject of Kur to us in about 2 minutes or less. Thank you.
This subject of Kibschiara Kure Tutte Pal Hukum Rajai Chalana Nanak Likhya Nal should be taken together. Right in the beginning of this Pauri, Soche Sochno Hove Je Sochi Lukhwar, some things Guru Sahib has mentioned. That is it the cleansing of the body, Soche Soche, Chuppe Chupno Hove, Ukhya Ukhna Utri is the fasting, Chupya is remaining quiet. Then all these things are for, they give you self-satisfaction. Yes, I've done this, I've done this. Some people do the other way. Some people say, I've got this by my wisdom, I have achieved this by my wisdom, so I'm satisfied this is how it should happen. But the line next to that is the, if we see that, that is that that is, none of these is going to go with you. So what is the, where are we doing, what is the, where that Guru Sahib is talking about? It is the hereafter. That is after we've completed our journey in the world and we go across after completing this, then we will be examined for what we have achieved in life. That is the acceptability at that stage is being Satyara. That is, if that is acceptable at that stage, then that person is Sachara, otherwise it's a Kuda. That is mean false. Sachara is the truthful. So the meaning of the word Sachara would be to say that whatever I was supposed to do in life, have I done it? Will I be accepted like that in the hereafter? That is in the divine court, in Dargah, as Gurbani calls it. So that is and gives Chiara Huyekiv Kude Tutte Pal. Pal is a wall. It is an obstacle. It is an obstruction that comes in the way of on our path. In the spiritual terms, it would mean it is an impediment to union with the Almighty. So if so, what is it that that causes? So how is it that I can be treated there as a Sachar, as a Sachara, as having done everything in life, and therefore be acceptable to the Almighty? The second line, the last line is Hukum Rajai Chalana. So Guru Sahib gives the first was the question, and second one is the answer. Hukum Rajai Chalana Nanak Likhya Nal. That you brought Hukum with you when you came, and go by that Hukum. Hukum is the commands, it is the directions, it is the instructions given to the soul by the Creator, and if you go by those, then they are it says Likhya Nal. That is, they've been given to you in writing. That is, they've been written on in your mind, in your soul, and in your conscience. They've been given to you, and if you do that, what is Hukum? We'll have to examine that a little more in detail. But that is for that that it is Hukum, that we live by Hukum, then that is the way we can be Sikhara and that wall of falsehood.
Hanji, thank you. I have to cut you off. I think we need to sort of move on. We'll come back to this. You raised some very interesting questions in my mind, at least. You're talking about the hereafter, and you're also talking about what I was supposed to do here, and Hukam being written with me somewhere in my mind. Interesting question. I'm going to hold off on this question, and I'm going to turn to Dr. Ajay Singh, who's present with us, and ask him to take it from here and address this. I know we've gone back to Sichara, but I suppose the two terms are symbiotic. So, Dr. Ajay Singh, would you like to sort of comment on?
Ravinder, this is my first day, my first experiment with the group, and I was hoping to learn how it proceeds and operates before I open my mouth and put my foot in it. But since you've done it,
I did not mean to put your foot in your mouth.
Well, I would do that myself. Don't you worry. I would do that without your help.
Okay.
I've done it so often.
Okay.
No,
all right.
There are a couple of things that concern me this here. See, when we say that it's not, have you done what you were sent to do, and it's not going to go with you, go with me where? To a different zip code somewhere? Where is this hereafter? So I think we need to look at that.
Yes, indeed. That's why I raised that.
Let me take just a minute.
Sure.
I'm going to talk about Hukam. If everything is preordained and pre-written, then I've got a problem. There's a bit of free will in what I do with it. So it's more, Hukam is more a conscious effort to live a certain way, and I can come to that. But I think within that line there are several things here, and I don't know quite which one to touch first.
So
the one with the hereafter,
can I suggest that we hang on to these very, very pertinent observations that you've made, and indeed that is what popped in my mind as well. And why don't we go through once with all the attendees, and then maybe perhaps we'll take up these questions that you've raised.
So I'd rather listen, and then I'll come back at the end, and I'll. No.
All right. So let me move on. Let me then move on to Sardar Gurdeep Singh Ji, Amritsar.
Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh Ji. First of all, I will come back to this point, what is food. And last time when we were discussing, and then a question had come that then is that Sargan Swarup, Sara kuch around us is a Kud, then is Sargun Swarup also a Kud. Then to that I have some thoughts and some quotes from Gurbani. So Gurbani describes Sache Tere Khand, Sache Brahman, Sache Tere Lo, Sache Akar, Sache Tere Karne, Sarab Vichar, Sacha Tera Hukam, Sacha Furman, Sacha Tera Karam, Sacha Nisan, Sachi Teri Sif, Sachi Salah, Sachi Teri Kudrat, Sache Pasha. So whole Kudrat nu Sach kya hai. तो दूसरे पासे गुरबानी विच वही आसा दीवार विच लिखा है कूड़ राजा कूड़ प्रजा कूड़ सब संसार कूड़ कूड़े नेहो लगा विसरिया करतार नानक वखाने बेनती इथे ही मतलब जो सेंटेंस दिता है तुद वाज कूड़ो कूड़ तो इस चीज ਨੂੰ मैं स्ट्रेस करना चाहना कि कूड़ ते सच दे विच भेद किन्ना है जो कुछ परमात्मा जिहदे विच कुदरत तो अगर असी if we get attached with the ultimate, if I get attached with the primal source by observing, then that is such. Agar if we get detached, if we start feeling that this belongs to me, that thing belongs to me, even ਧੀਆਂ ਪੁੱਤਰ even औलाद ये सारा कुछ अगर ਅਸੀਂ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਦਾ ਗਿਫਟ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਆ then it is such लेकिन अगर वो अगर ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ we get a feeling we get a remembrance of him thinking that it's a gift of God to me and they just belong to him, they do not belong to me and myself. मैं मेरी कोई चीज ही नहीं है यही एक मतलब पाल है यही परम है यही this is the only barrier. If we break this barrier then सारा कुछ सच है and if we are under the barrier then everything is false and untrue. That is what my submission is.
Thank you, Ji. So what I hear you saying is that Gurbani de which there are thoughts being expressed that are seemingly in contradiction with one another, but
no, it's really not contradiction.
No. Can you hear me out? No, I'm saying they're seemingly contradictory, but they are really not contradictory. It is all a matter of how we look at them, and I think that is what I'm suggesting. It is actually because at the end of the day, Khand bhi ode hain, Raja bhi oda hi banaya hoya hai, Sargun Roop bhi oda hi banaya hoya hai. So how could that be true and false at the same time, right? So it is really what you are alluding to is main meri might perhaps be the direction in which we want to go. So I want to move on to Charan Singh Veerji. Some interesting thoughts are coming up here. We'll go back to them, but I want to give the participants a chance to at least express their initial views. I do want to note one thing here. We did have a fairly long discussion on Satyara, so I think we all kind of into some agreement. We can't keep reverting back every week and sort of regressing. So let's just sort of kind of try and move the discussion forward a little bit. Hanji, Charan Singh ji.
My take on this whole is that we should not be studying the word kude in isolation. There's a evidence Mahalla Tija provides us that it has to be in it has to be a phrase kude ki pal. So when we use the word kude ki pal as a phrase to understand this pankti, then the first thing which we will
Hanjika, I think some disturbance is coming through.
No, it's
Can
okay.
the non-speakers put yourselves on mute?
Yeah, so this pankti has to be understood in the light of Gurbani as a kude ki paal vichon nikle. Malatija says, kude ki paal vichon nikle, sach vase man aaye. Antar sant man sukh hoye, sach sanjam kare kamaye. Now when it says sach sanjam kare kamaye, that connects to the next pankti of this where kiv satyara hoviye. So it is a kar kamani. Sach the kar kamani is satyara. I'll not dwell more on that. And similarly, bin bhaga aisa satgur na paiye je loche sab koye, kude ki paal vichon nikle. So when we say kude tutte pal and it means a wall, I beg to differ, because this indicates that we have to come out of a pale, which is not a wall, but ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਨਿਕਲਣਾ ਹੈ। ਵਾਲ ਨੂੰ ਸਿਰਫ ਇੱਕ ਟੁਕੜੇ ਟੁੱਟੇ ਤੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਤੋੜਨ ਵੱਲ ਚਲੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਦੀਵਾਰ ਹੈ, but to my understanding it is a very thin ਅੰਤਰ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹਉਮੈ ਔਰ ਸੂਖਮ ਹਰ ਔਰ ਸੂਖਮ ਹਉਮੈ ਨੂੰ separate ਕਰੀ ਬੈਠਾ। We need to first of all clear that part.
So would you say that it is a thought process that we have to change? Drishtikon badalda hai, gurmat apnai di hai. Is that what you would suggest?
It is pretty much on the lines, but then it's all the grace part. We cannot do that as long as we are in the kude ki pal. We have to have that grace factor working upon us to make our righteous living, whatever we think.
I just want to push this a little forward. So if grace is the prerequisite, Dr. Ajay Singh had just mentioned free will. How does that work? Then how does grace come into play?
The free will is between my decision to should I go to seek the grace or should I not go to seek the grace, and that is explained in the first 3 bodies, that sahaj syaanapan lakh hove. So if I use my free will, I use my intellect, I use my wisdom, and I go and do anything, that will continue to be deemed as an act in home, because it's a very thin महाराज कहते भाबीरी के पात पात्रो जेडी डिफरेंशिएशन बिटवीन कूड और सच है ये जिवें एक बटरफ्लाई फ्लिकर कर रही है, it is that thin. So we have to go to that level to understand the difference between कूड़े की पाल. It's not a wall as some people have been saying. And
that point you made very well noted, that it's not a wall, it's perhaps pointing to a certain mindset or a thought process. And you're also talking about the fact that this thought process cannot change without grace. However, what I also hear you saying is that the trigger has to be your free will at the end of the day. I have to be the one to seek that grace, because without that, nothing will happen.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me go to Dilpreet Singh ji. Dilpreet.
Hanji Ravindra ji, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
I would like to limit the meaning of Kude's Pal just in the context of this body. And the way I see this is that Gurbani is the game of mind. It should change our mind and our thought process at the end. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji is, again, I would use the word, he is condemning that Tirath Ishnan will not change our mind or thought process, or will not bring any change in us, and chanting something or being quiet or sitting in the jungles will not change our mind or thought process, will not bring any change in us, and eagerness will not go away if we have all. And then he is saying that all of this is not going to impact our thinking process or will bring a change in us, will not make us a better person. And then he is questioning, and then I think he is referring to all of this as Kude's Pal, that all of this is a wall which we have created, or beliefs which we have created will bring a change in us, is not going to bring any change. And then he is asking that, okay, then what will bring the change? And that is where he is taking us towards the hukam, and I think we will wait to discuss about the hukam.
So what I'm hearing you suggest is that thought processes, so it is not a physical wall, as some of you are suggesting, but these are mental structures that we get conditioned and hardened into without reflection. I think that is what you're pointing to, right?
That's right.
Okay, very good. Let me move on now to Gurdeep Singh ji from Montreal.
Vaheguru ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru ki Fateh ji. I will start with this word. Do you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Yes.
Tu karta satyar menda sai. Satyar is only he himself is a satyar. Tu sacho sach ek tu keval aap marari. He himself is a such. Satyar such is that primal energy who created the whole world. Now the name of the game is he created a Maya, which our other callers explained very well. It's a very thin wall, or it's just a thinking of the mind process, which is keeping us away from Him. Sach dhyan, sach jo mar jamme. This was the last line of the other caller. He explained sache tere khand sache behman. The last line, I think they didn't say, which is Nanak sach dhyan, sach jo mar jamme, so kach ne kach. So the process, the name of the game is, when we think of Him, jin har japya se har hoye, har milya kel kalali jiyo. Ram kavira ek paye hain, koi na sake peshani. The name of the game to me is now how we have to get merged into the primal source. That means when we think of Him, when we love with Him, when we do everything, automatically we become close to Sachara, or ultimately become Sachara. As Guru Gobind Singh said, "Doye te ek vahe hai." Now we are two souls. One is primal source, which is God. One is instinct of that soul, which is us, all of us. The name of the game is Sab Prapanch Kiya. Sab Tera Khel Akhada Jiyo. It's a game. It's a playground. How to get back into the primal source from where we came. So I think this is the name of the process. Kur means not only falsehood. The same way Sach doesn't mean only truth. Sach is the name of the God, of the primal source. Kur is destructive one. Everything is destructive one.
Anji, thank you, Ji. Thank you.
So this ultimate goal is to get back into this. That's the name of the process, or to come from Sach to Sachara. Thank you, Ji.
Thank you, Ji. Have I missed anyone? Harvinder, have I missed anybody other than you? I'll come to you in a second.
I think we covered everyone.
Okay, then let's go to you.
Okay. I think I am still struggling, even though I get the idea.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, I think I get the good idea from Charan Singh ji and Ravel Singh ji and everyone else on the panel regarding the code. Then basically, I know you mentioned that we should not go back to Suchiara again, but for me, like I am still trying to differentiate what is code. Like we live in a world, we go to our daily routine, and we do a lot of things, and then actually, what is meant by true living, Satyara living, and what is meant by code living? So, like, is that mean that we should, because we were told that we should not go to like jungles or anything to meet the God, we should live a normal life and then also attain oneship with the Almighty. But then, what is code living then? Like the discussion we are right now doing, even though this is Gurbani Vichar, is that part of the true living? We do part daily, we do kirtan. Is that a true living? And what exactly is the code living? Is only our mindset that we should not get attached to our house, our family, and other things. So I'm still trying to struggle. What is code? I know we will cover the whole Gurbani on this topic, but still.
And you still may not get the answer.
Yes. So I'm still struggling.
No. That's fine. Let me do menu chota hai bada so I can say this to you. That is a very good sign. The fact that you are struggling, because this is a struggle and a conflict and a clarification that anyone who is engaged in an inquiry of this sort has to go through, and we are all going through it. So I don't think that that is necessarily a sign to be concerned about. In fact, that tells me that you're engaged. So, it is. I don't know that we can answer that question here. We can certainly make an attempt. But, how about we hold this thought for a second? And I want to go back to Sardar Ravel Singh Ji with the follow-up questions that I had, which are very similar to what Dr. Raj Singh had raised. So, Uncle, tusi kya si ke the hereafter. So, what is the hereafter? Is it another zip code? And the other is knowing hukam. So, what about free will? Would you be able to address those, please?
And I think Ravi Singh ji, you are mute right now. Sudhar Ravi Singh.
Hello.
Yeah,
I continue.
we can hear you now.
Hanji, shall I?
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹੁਣ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਜੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ.
So right. So see, Satyara is not free will. Satyara is, in fact, as the next line suggests, is when we follow hukum. Satyara huye ki kude tutte pal, hukum rajai chalana nanak likhya naal. Satyara is going by hukum. So when we go by the hukum, when we go by what we've been told to do, only then we are Satyar. Otherwise, you see, take a very simple example in everyday life. In any service and in any way, somebody's given a job. One way is to try and please the boss by everything for his or her comfort and everything. Other is to do the job properly. The first one is, second one is the Satyar. That is, when we do exactly as the hukum commands, then it is being Satyar. So I think let's go step by step and say if there's any, does that clarify the issue, or does it need anything more?
No, I think we want to just take a little step back. To see gal kiti si, whether we've done the things that we were supposed to do, and that will be determined. You use the word hereafter. And that is what caused that question to pop up in my head, and I think Dr. Ajay Singh raised it a little more, pointedly. Hereafter, where is it?
Issue is this. You see, there are two stages of life, of what we do in life. One is acceptability in the world, acceptability in the society, acceptability by everybody here in the world. Take my boss in a job. And the second one is, in life also, there are two types of living. In death, there's two types of death. One death is that I do things which are not required to be done. I succumb to temptations. I succumb to vices, and that is why, in that case, I'm dying what is called a spiritual death. Physical death is everybody understands. Similarly, when we accountability is here in the world with everybody. Second accountability is what in Gurbani, I suppose later on when we are on the carry on, we will come to the subject of Jam. That is the divine justice. So this all this is a result of that happens is because of the deeds or the way we lead life, whether it is according to the hukum or it is not. That is what's going to determine.
So based on what you're saying, the impression I'm gathering is that if the determination is going to be made in a divine court somewhere hereafter, then one will never know whether one is a Satyara or not until one is dead. And that raises Harvinder Singh's question, which is, how do I know that? How do I know that I'm leading a fruitful life and not a poor life?
I'm glad you asked this question. I'm glad you asked this question. You see, this particular thing is not. In fact, I mentioned in different context to say that you know where it is. In life, you know what you are required, what you are doing is right or not right. You are very, very good. I'm glad you asked this question because that would have left the doubt. Because if I am supposed to do what I'm supposed, I must do what I'm required to do. Then I must understand what I'm required to do. That particular thing, when Guru Nanak Sahib in this particular one, audio himself is saying, in Nanak Likhya Naal, that it has been given to you in writing. It has been given to you as writing on your soul. Then that soul in life is my conscience. In my conscience, if I do something good or bad, my conscience always tells me.
But I would argue, I don't want to interrupt you here, but I think I have to. So if it is written in my soul, what does that mean? I mean, how is it written and how do I read it? That's one question. The other one is, Haji, if you wouldn't mind, I mean, I just, and then the other thing is...
No, there's no question of minding. You see, the point is that...
So can I
that
just ask the follow-up on this as well? I mean, even whatever is embedded in me doesn't come with me. Isn't that something that my surrounding culture gives me? On what is right and wrong? What could be right for me could be wrong for a Chinese guy, for example. What could be right for a surgeon using a knife could be wrong for a thief. So all of these distinctions are made here. It doesn't just happen.
May I submit that in all these cases, it is, as I said, the surgeon using the knife is doing his job. That is the hukum. That is the job given to him as a role in life. Another person killing another person who is not to blame, that will be wrong. So that should be clear.
But what about cultural differences?
Let me kindly finish, please. Let me finish, please. You see, in life, if we do something wrong, our inner self always tells us, you are doing this wrong. Then we try to justify within ourselves. No, I'm doing this. I think it is okay. That is where the conflict of duality comes in. And that's the stage that it should tell us, no, all is not well. What you're doing is obviously, you have to answer a question to yourself. That means what you're doing is wrong, it is kuriyar. If you are happy...
No, Nidhi, I get the point you're trying to make. I'm just trying to steer the direction into another direction because I don't want this particular piece to dominate. I just want to give the panel a chance if they want to actually comment on this. We can hold off on this because I think this will become quite a protracted discussion. And I'm quite happy to have the discussion, but may I open this to the panel? I know Dr. Ajay Singh wanted to make a few observations. Do you have any observation before I move to the others, Dr. Ajay Singh?
Oh, more than I know. But let's
you want to defer for now?
You see, part of our problem is that we read the poetry of Guru Granth as a literal prose, and we look at literal meanings thereof, and then we get into a quagmire where there is no meaning. Okay, when we start thinking of a life hereafter, really, the way I read Sikhi, life hereafter is not a concern. The concern really is the question that Guru Amar Das raised: "Is sarira merya, is jag mein aaye ke kya tud karam kamaya?" What footprints did you leave in the sands of time? And that is the issue. So there is a certain amount of free will. When we say hukam, it does not mean that there is a micromanaging that some God is doing up there. Micromanaging exactly what you're going to do, what you're not going to do. If everything that I do is governed and pre-written, then there is no fault of mine that I do what I do. There's nothing for me to correct, nothing for me to do, nothing for me to look forward to. And so there's a problem there. The issue is kya tud karam kamaya, is jag mein aaye ke, or tusi kande vich duniya save kamai hai. Now the other conditions that we have, they are to define the code of conduct with a certain attitude that we have. A attitude na hoye ke main karta, ਉਹ ਮੈਂ ਕੱਢਣੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਈਗੋ ਕੱਢਣੀ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਈਗੋ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ। ਮੈਂ ਕਹਾਂਗਾ ਹੁਣ ਕਿ ਈਗੋ ਤੇ ਥੋੜੀ ਕੁਛ ਹੱਦ ਤੱਕ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜੇ ਹਉਮੈ ਦੀ ਰਗ ਰੋਗ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਦਾਰੂ ਵੀ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਦਾਰੂ ਵੀ ਇਸਮਾ ਹੈ। ਤੇ ਇਸ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਈਗੋ ਕੱਢਣ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਨਹੀਂ, ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ, ਕਮਾਂਡ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ। So self-assertiveness is good, aggression is not. Therefore, is not. What is not good is what psychologists would now say is narcissism. To be in love with the self. Okay, all there is me. And that's not necessarily ego. I'm not a psychologist, so I can't debate on that too well. Or maybe I can because I'm not a psychologist.
Well, we're all homegrown psychologists. So
that's what I'm saying. I think I can debate it too well because I'm not one.
Point well taken. Point well taken. Let me go to Gurdeep Singh ji and Amritsar ji. Do you want to comment on this discussion so far, this point that we have raised? Vijay, are you there?
we are touching many sides. So one side is telling that there is a preordained hukum, but I think when it is being told there is a preordained hukum, that is, I think we are talking of certain set of rules. The hukum is not that this particular thing that will happen. The hukum is that what is wrong or right according to the laws which the ultimate primal source has framed. And to know those laws, really, that if we are living in illusion, we'll never come to know of the laws. That even inner consciousness also will die if we are too much under this. If the veil of home is very, very thick, I mean the practices, wrong practices which we have been following since generations, वो अगर मैल बहुत मोटी है ना तो सानू फिर हुक्म भी नजर नहीं आएगा, जो ਅਸੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਉਹ ਹੀ ठीक नजर आएगा. तो in a way, to understand that hukam as something which is pre-written, that event is going to, it's not the events. I think Ravel Singh Ji is talking. What Ravel Singh Ji is talking is that preordained hukum is the certain laws according to which our consciousness speaks that what action I am doing at a particular moment, whether it's going in the right direction or whether it's going in the wrong direction.
Hanji.
Can I add one sentence more to what I said?
Please do.
In this, I would say hukum then really has two aspects, or three if you wish. Ik te hukum hai, there is a certain order to things. There is a certain system to things, they're not randomly done. That is that. The ik hukum hai, order as if do this or do that. So over time, I interpret it a little bit differently, and I'm going to try a little bit of Punjabi as I speak, because I need to learn it.
You're doing well.
Doing well, you can drown well. Forget that. I won't make a bad joke on that. But it reminds me of the fact that no matter how much we know, what we know is always going to be greater than what we don't know. इस वास्ते there are many things we will never know. जिस तरह है ना एक पुरानी prayer, grant me the power to change the things I can, the serenity to accept what I cannot change, the wisdom to know the difference, which is the hard thing to do. Because we will learn then that there are things that I can change, I can do. ये जग में है कि क्या तुद कर्म कमाया. I'm responsible for those. There are things I can never even guess, and I cannot change, I cannot alter, I cannot. Whatever will happen will happen. Then I have to learn that to accept that with good grace. That whatever happens is beyond my control.
Haji, thank you, Ji.
And live with it. And that is hukum.
Haji,
That's living a life in hukum.
Thank you. Now, before I go on, I'm going to jump in as a participant here because I want to pick off a little bit on what was just said. Like Dr. Singh is saying, there may be one, maybe two, maybe three meanings to hukum. My own sense is that actually the word hukum is a spectrum of meanings here, actually, that we tend to mix up with one another. I mean, I see it as the term that is used for God's creative agency that operates basically, and it operates at all levels of existence. So therefore, at one point it could be the laws of, that orders this universe. At another, it could be the ethical framework that is given to us, the moral and ethical framework that we have to do. And at one level, it might be the sense of self that we have. So I think we need to look across the spectrum of meanings that hukam might have, because, it can mean a writ, it can mean a decree, it can mean a command, and it can mean order. So that said, let me go to Charan Singh Ji in Toronto if he wishes to add to this.
Thanks, Vijay. I have written my complete pankti. How peet payo hai bicho sunat des niktayo pabiri ke paat pardo bin pekhe dur ayo. Let me unzip first the zip code of that, where we have to go, what is the hereafter. Hereafter is the primary source, as Gurdeep ji from Montreal was also saying. That's the primary destination from where the finite has been separated from the infinite. That is the unzipping of that place. When it comes nearer, when one evolves into Gurbani, one can understand that yes, it's closer. But even then, it's a very thin veil that has to be crossed, and it keeps on. It's in a dynamic motion. It's not a stable which can be teared off or kept aside. Second part is, if we will not understand both the polarities, both the opposite extremes that Gurbani manifests, we will keep on juggling with our perspectives only. For example, if I say इस जग में आए के क्या तूत कर्म कमाया, Bani clearly says tu aya laha land. Now what is that laha? And again I get back to that spectrum of meaning for hukam. There is only and only one meaning of hukam that dwells along. It's not pre-written. Can we change it? No. Will it change us? Yes. My all accountability, my all acceptability in the domain word, the separated word from the primal source, will be acceptable to all if I connect to that hukam. That is primarily the purpose of Gurbani, that once one stays connected with the primal source, oscillates between the primary infinite and the secondary finite, then that oscillation makes one accountable automatically in the domain word, in the mortal world, as well as in acceptable in the word that is sometimes referred as hereafter. But this unzipped code for that is the primal source from where I have separated. That knowledge remains, and knowledge seeks to improve upon that, creatively add up to that source. Thank you.
Thank you, Virji. That was way above my head. All of this resonation and oscillation. Maybe I'll have to chat with you afterwards. Dilpreet Singh ji, do you want to add something to this?
Hanji, I would try. The way you asked it, right? What is hukam? The way I understand it, based on my limited knowledge, that hukam is a framework which is existing around us. It is created by the creator. It is universal for everyone, and it is not changing for anyone. And then we also touched on the point that there are some limitations and freedoms, right? So karam karan di khul is there. There is a freedom, but then there is a limitation. I would use one example, that whoever is born will die. So that is the limitations, that we cannot play around that limitations. That once the birth is there, the death will happen. But the freedom is also there, that when the birth is happening, it is not predetermined, and when the death will happen, that is also not predetermined. So there is some freedom there, and limitation is there, that whoever is born will die. And hereafter, to me, it means whatever time is left for me between today and till I die is my hereafter. And for a society or a group, the hereafter is the entire future that which they are building for their next generations to come.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you. We have about 7 or 8 minutes left for this discussion, and we are already drifting in the direction of hukam. I think there is little doubt that we all agree that at the end of the day, it is this hukam we have to connect to in order to lead the sort of life that the Guru has envisioned for us. So the real issue here is some clarity, or further clarity, shall I say, on the term hukam. My suggestion would be that we take another round and amplify what we have all heard and said around hukam, and then follow up in the next session just on hukam. Would that be agreeable to the discussion group?
Hanji, I think you forgot me.
I'm sorry, Gurdeep Singh Virji. I'm terribly sorry.
Myself, say a few words.
Hanji, please.
Yeah, okay. First thing I would like to answer Harvinder Veerji. He said, how come we don't know? Because we are in dream. We are sleeping. Can we ever know while we are dreaming that this is the truth or it's a false? That looks always a truth. Tehi guni sansar param sutta. So we are sleeping form right now. So that's why we can't analyze better this is false or this is truth. Once we will awaken from this sleep, only then we will know what was right, what was wrong. Other answer here for my other caller, VG, kya to karam kamaya. The last line is the answer. Jin har tera rachana rachya, so har man na vasaya. That answer this line, the previous two lines, ketu karam kamaya. So the God emphasizes us that we should always think of Him. Then we will know this whole spectrum. We will know all these things. What is hukam? What is order? What is sabbath? What's all that? And these things can be changed. I know it's pre-written through Mastak Likhya Lekh, but this can be changed with the Sad Sangat, with enunciation on His name. Lekhna mityo Vaisakhi jo likhya kirtar. This is in Guru Granth Sahib. But there is a long story we will discuss later on how this can be changed. This is the name of the game. This is the process. That's what we want to know. If we always say sit, it's already predestined and pre-written. So whether we're doing good or bad, it is in His order. This is not true. It is true to some extent, but that we have to change this to our own action and reaction, and the fruit of our action and reaction, how we're going to get in the next life and next life. Because there's no end of a life according to Gurbani or Guru Granth Sahib. Thank you.
Thank you, Jina. I apologize for missing you. I'm trying to sort of make notes here as well. So we have a few minutes left. And Harvinder, what would you suggest that we do?
I think second body is also around hukam. So do we want to take that body also along when we discuss the hukam, or you are suggesting that we discuss hukam as a just a hukam
as a concept, because it is foundational to our understanding, right? I mean, if we have to ultimately connect with the hukam or live with the hukam, then it becomes, I mean, for example, take this discussion today. I mean, it still doesn't tell me what do I have to do? How do I know this? In very small examples. Those are the questions you're raising, right?
Hanji, I think what we have to, I think, is go back to, I think, Sardar Ravel Singh ji, because I think there are two things we need to keep in mind, and the question keeps coming up in every discussion, or here or outside this forum, is that if everything is predestined, then can we go in the reactive mode? Can we just accept that we are doing the bad things, so keep doing them because they were my destiny? Or we should look at it at more positive way, that whatever happens to us, and we should take it as a like raza of Vaheguru, but we should still try to do whatever Gurbani is telling us and try to be more satyar, like more truthful living. So basically, there's always a conflict between just taking just people who are doing, like people, just giving you an example, I'm not meant to say something bad, people who are not like in daily life that follow the art kirtan, they always say that that this is our destiny, this is what written for us. Pretty much they treat this line in a more negative way than it is supposed to be. So we want to make sure, definitely, when we discuss hukam, we should try to see that what we should take this line from both sides and try to conclude that it is in more positive way than just we become more kind of a reactive or not do anything.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Ravel Singh ji, did you want to say something?
You see, hukum, we've been talking about what is hukum. Hukum, we know it is hukum, that is the order, it's the commands. But please understand one thing, that the hukum is not arbitrary. Dr. Ajay Singh raised a very valid question to say, is it a micromanagement by some authority or somebody on top who is giving hukum? No, it is not so. Hukum is, in fact, Guru Nanak clarifies in beautifully when he says कि हुक्म चलाए आपने करमी वह कलाम नानक सच्चा पातशाह सच सबदी बाण. So whatever hukum that comes, it is based on our deeds, and when it is based on our deeds, it automatically means that it's really the laws of nature. If we do something, we have to face the consequences of that. If we do something repeatedly, it gets ingrained in our mind, and it becomes our nature, and we act accordingly. But there is another also very important issue, that is the Gurbani concept. In between, it was also mentioned, is that this question of here and hereafter was also questioned to say, is it I am to worry about what is there in the hereafter, sit there or not? It is in fact Gurbani says quite clearly that it is halat sukh, palas sukh. So it is the sukh, it is the comfort, it is the peace that the soul must experience in this life and in the hereafter. And Ram, whatever crop or whatever bad things that I have done, I have to understand that their influence is going to work on me, and that is Gurbani said is by hukum, and that hukum is the laws of nature. It is the consequences of what we do. To that extent, what the moderator said initially, to say that is it my free will? It is not free will, but at the same time, it is what I do. That is, so whatever happens.
Anji, thank you, Ji. I have to cut you off. We are running out of time, and I do want to give the panel at least 30 seconds to sum this up. So I'll go to Gurdeep Singh Ji and Amritsar. 30 seconds. Let's wrap this up. Any thoughts?
No, I don't want to say anything more at the moment.
ठीक है जी. Anji Charan Singh Ji.
I'm fine, Ji. Thank you.
अच्छा जी. Dilpreet Singh Ji.
I am also good with you.
अच्छा जी. Gurdeep Singh Ji, Montreal.
हाँ जी, इको नाम हुक्म है सतगुर दिया बुझाए जियो, हल्त सुख पलत सुख नित सुख सिमरनो, नाम प्रभु का सदा लीज है, साध संग मिल मुआ जीज है. वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह जी.
Thank you, Ji. And Dr. Ajit Singh, do you want to say something? You have about 30 seconds.
Sure. The free will that we have, if you wish, is limited. There's no question about it. The will that we have to alter what we can do. So Hukam tells me to live a life, and Hukam tells me to live every moment of life fully with the ethics that the religious system has evolved and given us. To live life fully every moment, and then accept whatever happens with good grace and elegance, Chardi Kala, and that's Hukam.
Thank you. I would suggest that we continue this discussion in the next session. However, what I would like is if we could perhaps send out some questions and thoughts in advance, and I will too, to the sort of things that we discussed. I'll try to put out a summary. I've tried to take some notes here, but perhaps with something to chew on before we get into the discussion, I think might be a little more fruitful. That said, we will meet again on Wednesday. Harvinder Singh, what time is it? 8:30?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock? You keep changing the times on us.
I think we're getting a request to do
okay. 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and thank you everyone for your participation. Indeed, a great discussion. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.
Thank you all for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Wonderful.